Once again to this online session. Today again we are going to do the second revision of this chapter, acid, bases and salts. In the previous session I had covered up till bases. We had done properties of acids, properties of bases, their nature of reactions with metals and all. In today's session I'll be talking about importance of pH in our everyday life, and then we'll be talking about different types of salts, preparation, uses. It's a kind of revision. Okay, now let's begin with importance of pH. We have already learned that pH, when the pH value is less than 7, the substances are termed to be acidic in nature. When the pH is more than 7, the substances are said to be alkaline or basic in nature. Your human body, means our body, works at a pH of about 7.4. Your stomach has a pH of about 2. 2 means what? Less than 7, which is acidic in nature. Why is it having a pH 2? Because it has the presence of hydrochloric acid. And what is the needed for this presence of hydrochloric acid there? It is needed to activate the pepsin protein, which is required for digesting your protein content that you are taking in your food. Okay, so remember this point. The need for hydrochloric acid in your stomach is to enhance the working of the pepsin protein, which is very much required for the digestion of proteins that you are taking in during your course of meals. Okay, then you have learned about tooth decay. When we have done the lesson, we have learned in detail about tooth decay. Why does it happen? This is because when you are eating food, the food that contains sugar, what will happen to them? It is broken down by the bacteria that is present in our mouth, and it forms acids. This acid lowers the pH level in your mouth. That is why you get a foul smell when you don't rinse your mouth properly or after you wake up from your sleep. That's why it is advised that every day you have to brush your teeth twice, once you get up in the morning and once before you go to bed. So this tooth decay starts when the pH of the acid that is formed in the mouth falls below 5.5. This is because the acid becomes strong enough to attack the enamel of our teeth, which leads to your tooth decay. It causes corrosion, which leads to tooth decay. So to prevent this tooth decay, you have to clean or rinse your mouth thoroughly after eating every meal. Anything when you eat, immediately after eating that particular food substance, you have to rinse your mouth thoroughly with water. At the same time, twice a day you have to keep brushing. See, many animals and plants protect themselves from enemies by injecting painful and irritating acids and bases into their skin. This you have learned. Whenever honeybee bites or stings you, or ants, when they bite you, you get a burning sensation. You feel itchy whenever some small insects bite you. This is because they release formic acid into your body. So in order to reduce that irritation, burning sensation, you have to apply calamine lotion, which is basic in nature, right? So that is what is explained here. When a honeybee stings a person, it injects an acidic liquid into the skin. Rubbing with a mild base like baking soda solution on the area that is being stung by the honeybee gives you a good relief. Okay, then when wasp and all stings you, you can apply vinegar on the stung area to give you some relief. Okay, next, indicators. What are indicators to identify whether the given substance, they are substances which are used to identify whether the given substance is acidic or basic in nature. So these indicators will undergo a color change when they come in contact with the given acid or a base. For example, your litmus paper is an indicator. They are available in two colors. One is red color, another one is blue color. So when you dip this litmus paper into acids, what will happen? If the litmus paper is going to be blue in color, when you put it in an acid, it turns red. Similarly, when it is a base, if you dip a red litmus paper, it will turn blue. Obviously, when you dip a red litmus paper into an acid, there won't be any color change. When you dip a blue litmus paper into a base, there won't be any color change. So there are several types of indicators like your litmus solution, methyl orange, phenolphthalein, methylride, etc. So as I told you, acid converts your blue litmus to red and bases turn red litmus to blue. This phenolphthalein remains colorless in the presence of acid but turns pink when they come in contact with bases. Okay, so this part you should remember. What are indicators? Indicators are substances which are used to identify whether the given substance is acidic in nature or basic in nature. There are different types of indicators. Litmus paper is one example. Litmus solution is also there. Methyl orange is there. Phenolphthalein, methyl, right? Universal indicator. There are many types of indicators. So basically you should know about your litmus paper. If it is going to be a litmus paper, they are available in two colors as I told you, red and blue. Blue color litmus paper will change red when it comes in contact with acid, and red litmus paper will change blue when it comes in contact with the base. Phenolphthalein, remember, will not undergo a color change with acids, but in bases they turn pink in color. Clear to you? Next. See. In what way pH plays a major role in the growth of plants? Nowadays, due to the addition of chemical substances in the form of fertilizers to the soil, it increases the acidic content in the soil. So if you don't neutralize this, what will happen? It will affect the growth of the crops. So listen, plants grow well when the pH of the soil is close to 7 because it should be neutral. If the soil is too acidic or basic, then the plants do not grow well at all. So how is the soil, the pH level of soil is affected? It is affected by the use of chemical fertilizers. So chemicals can be added to soil to adjust its pH and make it suitable for growing plants. If the soil is too acidic, then it is treated with materials like slaked lime or what you call as quicklime. If the soil is too alkaline, then it can be reduced by adding organic matter. Remember, if the soil is acidic in nature, then in that case you have to add slaked lime or else it's called as quicklime. If it is basic in nature, too basic in nature, then in that case you have to add organic manure. So here you should remember a point. What should be the pH level of the soil in order to have a well production or produce there, means from the plants? The pH should be equal to 7. So how is the pH of the soil is getting affected? The pH of the soil is getting affected due to the use of chemical fertilizers. So when you add more and more chemical fertilizers in order to have a good produce or yield, it affects the quality of soil. So when that case, what will happen? You will not have a good growth of crops or the plants. So before you sow seeds or before you go for planting something new, you have to test the pH level of the soil. If it is too less, you have to add organic manure. If it is too high, in that case you have to treat it with quicklime or slaked lime. Next. Salts are generally formed due to the reaction between an acid and a base. And in this also you have different types in salts like acidic salt, basic salt and neutral salt. Neutral salts are formed when a strong acid reacts with a strong base. Your sodium chloride is one example for your neutral salt, because sodium hydroxide is a strong base and hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. When they combine together, it leads to the formation of neutral salt. Both are strong in nature, so it gets neutralized. So acidic salts are formed when the acid is strong and the base is weak. So strong acid and weak base react to form your acidic salt. Your example is whatever I have given here is reaction between hydrochloric acid and ammonium hydroxide. It leads to the formation of ammonium chloride, which is acidic in nature, and water. So basic salts are formed due to the reaction between weak acid and a strong base. Your sodium acetate, vinegar, what is called as acidic acid, is organic in nature. It is used in our day-to-day life. So when it combines with the sodium hydroxide, which is strong, so organic acids are weak acids. Sodium, acetic acid is organic, therefore it is going to be a weak acid. So when this weak acid combines with the strong base like your sodium hydroxide, it leads to the formation of sodium acetate, which is a basic salt, and leads to the formation of water also. In all neutralization reactions, salt and water are formed. Clear? Let's now discuss about the important salts, its chemical formula, uses, preparation. We'll just do a quick revision of them also. First, let's talk about sodium chloride. Chemical formula is NaCl. Your common name is table salt, right? So, how is it prepared? In the lab, we can prepare it by combining your sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. And naturally, it is obtained by the evaporation of seawater. You must have heard about salt pans. And even these salts are present below the ground surface. Okay, so they are found as large crystals which are reddish brown in color, and it looks brown in color due to the presence of impurities. So it has to be mined from the underground deposit like your coal, and then it has to be processed in order to remove all the impurities, and it should be made fit for edible purpose. That means for your eating purposes. Now, what are the uses of this common salt? You all know that it is used in cooking, right? And then it forms a raw material for obtaining various other salts like your caustic soda, washing soda, baking soda, and it is used as a preservative in pickle and for storing meat and fish. And then to melt ice and clear roads in winter in cold countries. When you sprinkle salt, it melts the ice. That ice, it melts faster, and it is also used in the manufacturing of soap. Now, let's talk about baking soda. Baking soda, it's known as sodium hydrogen carbonate, chemical name, and the chemical symbol is NaHCO3, sodium bicarbonate we say, and it is prepared by the reaction of concentrated solution of sodium chloride with ammonia and carbon dioxide. When sodium chloride, that is NaCl, is combined with ammonia NH3 and water and carbon dioxide, it leads to the formation of sodium hydrogen carbonate, what we call it as sodium bicarbonate, and ammonium chloride. Next, properties and uses of baking soda. So what are the properties? It's a white crystal which is sparingly soluble in water, and this sodium hydrogen carbonate, when it is heated, it decomposes to form sodium carbonate and leads to the evolution of carbon dioxide gas. Remember this, when you are talking about washing soda, this property will be very useful. When sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated, it leads to the formation of sodium carbonate, which is called as your washing soda, and then it leads to the evolution of carbon dioxide gas along with formation of water. And then this baking soda, normally it's used in the preparation of your cakes, for fermenting food items like your doklas, to make it spongy, in your bhajiyas, to make the items crispier. And then it is used in soda acid fire extinguisher. It is used to give you a relief from acidity, and also it is used as a reagent in the laboratory. Next, preparation of washing soda. See, you have already learned that sodium chloride forms the basic raw material for obtaining various salts like your baking soda, washing soda and all. So, washing soda is obtained by heating baking soda. So, when you heat sodium bicarbonate, it leads to the formation of sodium carbonate, water and carbon dioxide gas. Okay, so that's why I have given the equation for the formation of sodium bicarbonate once again. Sodium bicarbonate is formed due to the reaction between sodium chloride, ammonia, carbon dioxide and water. They all combine together to give you sodium bicarbonate or sodium hydrogen carbonate and ammonium chloride. When you heat this sodium hydrogen carbonate, it forms sodium carbonate, water and releases carbon dioxide gas. Now, when you mix this sodium carbonate, what you have obtained after heating your sodium hydrogen carbonate, it has become dry, anhydrous, it has lost. So to this you have to add 10 molecules of water so that it forms your washing soda. Next, the uses and properties of washing soda. Washing soda is also a white transparent crystalline solid. You can not say color, white is also colorless only. Okay, then it has a melting point of 8510 degrees C. It is soluble in water. Now, what are the uses of this washing soda? Sodium carbonate, that is your washing soda, is used in your glass industries, soap industries and in your paper industries. It is also used in the manufacture of compounds like borax. Okay, and then this sodium carbonate can be used as a cleaning agent for domestic purposes. And it is also used to remove the permanent hardness of water. Bleaching powder is a common name. Chemical name is calcium oxychloride. Its formula is CaOCl2, right? So this bleaching powder is obtained by passing chlorine gas over dry slaked lime. That is your calcium hydroxide is what is called as your dry slaked lime. Okay, so calcium hydroxide reacts with chlorine to form calcium oxychloride and water. Now, properties and uses of bleaching powder. Bleaching powder is used as a disinfectant. It is used for the cleaning the floors of your bathroom. It's sprinkled in the public places like your bus stand, railway station and all, in order to kill those germs. Okay, let's see the properties now. It's a pale yellow powder. It has a strong smell of chlorine and it is soluble in water, but a clear solution is never formed due to the presence of impurities in it. And then, what are the uses of bleaching powder? Bleaching powder normally it's going to bleach. So in that case, it will be used in your textile industry and for paper industries in order to give you a white color paper. It's used as an oxidizing agent in many chemical industries, and to make the water germ free also this is added. Okay. Next is your water of crystallization. See, water of crystallization is nothing but the fixed number of water molecules present in one formula unit of salt. We saw now Na2CO3.10H2. It was earlier anhydrous, right? So when you had added water molecules to them, it has become hydrous in nature. So 5 water molecules are present in one formula unit of copper sulfate. So you write it as CuSO4.5H2. On the other salt which possesses water of crystallization is your gypsum. It has got 2 water molecules, like the symbol is calcium sulfate dot 2H2. Okay. Now let's see the use of this gypsum. So when this gypsum, when it is heated to a very high temperature, it loses the molecules, water molecules present in it, and leads to the formation of calcium sulfate hemihydrate, which is called as your plaster of Paris. Okay. Now, what are the use of plaster of Paris? It's used for decorative purposes, for making of false ceiling and all. It's used in the manufacturing or production of some idols, and it is used in the dentistry also. So it is used to plaster the fractured bones. The plaster that they put, it consists of this plaster of Paris. So it is used in making toys, cast for statue toys. It's used in dentistry. It is used as a raw material for a decoration and for making the surfaces smooth. Okay, so calcium sulfate hemihydrate is what is called as your plaster of Paris, right? And you all know the uses of plaster of Paris. So we have completed the lesson with this, and in the next class I'll be giving you questions from the examination point of view. Okay, so till then, take care, keep studying. Good day, bye.